the Opopco Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson here with Barry Tramel, and we're brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. You can go online anytime and order your pizza at papajohns.com. Time for our We Pick 'em. We've got college ball, but Barry, we're going to start with NFL. It kicks off this week, Thursday night, 7:30. A great matchup between Green Bay and Seattle, much like last week with the ceremonial opening of college football on Thursday. We get an NFL opening on Thursday. It's another holiday, Barry. Who you got in this one, though?
Well, I'm going to take Seattle. The Seahawks look as primed to repeat as any team I can remember in a long time. I mean, they're able to keep their core together, still paying Russell Wilson, a championship quarterback, a small amount of money so they can spend money elsewhere. That defense is stiff as ever. It's added former OSU star Kevin Williams. So Seahawks look primed. I love Green Bay, love Aaron Rodgers, but it's going to be very difficult to win in Seattle. I'm taking the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'll go with the Seahawks as well. And I think that it is a heck of a matchup, but I'll give it to the 12th man. I think that Seattle's crowd is going to be off the charts. I mean, it's going to be amazing atmosphere in Seattle for that opener. Thursday night, marquee game, the opener of the season. You know people are going to be stoked. I assume they'll do something for the Super Bowl championship, raise a banner or hand out rings or whatever you do when you win a Super Bowl. So, man, that atmosphere is going to be off the charts. And I think Seattle's really good too. So the Seahawks win on Thursday night. All right, Barry, what about this matchup? It's big-time Pac-12 ball on Saturday, 2:30. USC goes to Stanford. Who wins this one?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a fun game. It's not going to be as much fun as when Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh were going at it. And now, they've taken their rivalry now to the NFC West, and they fight up there. But still a great game. I think Southern Cal still on the short side of talent and depth with the probation. They're coming out of it. They're getting back to where they need to be, but they're not there yet. Stanford just moves along. What a great program established by Jim Harbaugh, continued by David Shaw. The Cardinal just wins and wins and wins in a very, very solid way with strong defense, power, physical football. I like Stanford.
Yeah, I'm taking Stanford in this one as well. But I was impressed by USC last week. I thought the first week for the Steve Sarkisian era was a good one. I thought you saw offensively what was clearly lacking a year ago when USC struggled so mightily to score points. But Barry, you mentioned the Stanford defense, and I think that's where Stanford really separates itself in this game, and maybe in the Pac-12 too. As good as the Pac-12 looks like it's going to be this year with everybody from Oregon to UCLA, USC, Stanford, a lot of really upper echelon teams. Stanford, while I'm picking Oregon to come out as a team that plays in that college football playoff, I could see it being Stanford too because they play defense every night. And so that's where I think they win Saturday. But I think it could be their leg up in the Pac-12 as well. All right, Barry, what about this matchup? Man, talk about Oregon. They host Michigan State. This is a top 10 matchup supreme. Saturday at 5:30. Who you got in this one?
Well, it's a great game. Just a great, great game. Great kudos to Michigan State and Oregon for playing this game. Now, I think it's going to be tough for the Spartans to win. I wish this game was in East Lansing. I think then it would be a toss-up. But Oregon's offense is such that even a great defense like Michigan State will be hard-pressed to slow the Ducks way down. And I don't know if Michigan State can score enough. Michigan State needs to win this game 19-17. Yeah. I don't think they can do it. I think it's going to get into the 20s. I don't know if Michigan State can get to the 28-point range. I think Oregon in about a 7-point game.
Yeah, I've got Oregon in this one as well. But I tell you what, it's going to be really interesting to see how this game plays out long term. Because right now, to me, it looks like Michigan State's as good as anybody in the Big Ten. I thought Ohio State would be the team to come out of the Big Ten and maybe make a run at playing in that playoff. But now, with their injury at quarterback, they just don't look the same. I think Michigan State could be a team to run through the Big Ten, but if they lose to Oregon, that's as good a non-conference game as you can expect. That shouldn't be a black mark. They should still get some consideration to play in that playoff. But I like Oregon on Saturday. Really, really good team there. All right, Barry, what about the two games involving in-state teams? Missouri State is at Oklahoma State. That's a 2:30 kick on Saturday. Who are you taking in this one?
Let me think for a minute. I go back to 1996. I was there. Missouri State came to Stillwater for the season opener in '96, Bob Simmons era. and the Cowboys went to overtime. First overtime game in Division 1A history, and I don't think this one's going overtime. I think Cowboys will have it sometime well in hand before the first quarter ends. So, Cowboys will win. They looked great against Florida State. I think they take out some of the frustration of losing on Missouri State. So in a rout, the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm going with Oklahoma State in this one as well. And I think that Saturday is where we get a chance to see some of these other quarterbacks that we talk so much about. I know the talk in the preseason was Dax Garman was working as though he might take 10 or 12 snaps against Florida State in the opener. That didn't happen. Mike Gundy saying the other day that the circumstances just never quite presented themselves to use that part of their offense. So we'll see. I think we'll definitely see Dax Garman. Wouldn't be surprised to see Mason Rudolph. I don't know who the fourth team guy is, but we might see him too because Missouri State's not very good. All right, Barry, lastly, OU goes to Tulsa. It's an intra-state matchup, 11 o'clock on Saturday. Who you got in this one?
I'll take the Sooners, and here's the deal. In 1996, same year as that overtime game, Missouri State-OSU, 1996, Tulsa upsets the Sooners. Since then, Oklahoma's taken out its frustration on TU. 2005 was a 31-15 game, well contested. Otherwise, they played 8-9 times since then, and the Sooners win in a rout. They always play well against Tulsa. Don't know why, but I expect them to do it again. Hurricane had a nice win, beating Tulane in overtime on opening night. But Tulane is not the Sooners. I think the Sooners will roll.
Yeah, I do too. I like OU in this one, and I was impressed with Tulsa in that comeback win against Tulane because they looked like they were overmatched for a good chunk of that game, but roared back in the second half. So great performance by them. But OU they took care of business in the opener against an undermanned Louisiana Tech team. And there's been a lot of seasons we've seen OU come out against so-so opponents in the non-conference and play so-so. And so this team appears to maybe have a little bit loftier aspiration or goal or standard, and they played better in that opener. Wouldn't be surprised to see them play really well at TU. Going to be playing against Oklahoma high school guys, a lot of these guys that played against each other, played with each other. I think that adds to the motivation as well, so I think Sooners win on Saturday morning. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.